Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the 28th day. The 28th day apparitions. First point: does God permit the souls in purgatory to return to earth? Second point: for what reason does he permit it? First point: a friend of St. Augustine asked him one day the following question: what ought one to think of the fact that several persons have appeared after their deaths, going in and out of their houses as formerly? What ought one to think if, in places where their bodies have been buried, at certain hours of the night noises have been heard? I am far from believing, replied the great doctor of the church, that these sorts of apparitions are either frequent or natural to the dead. For if it depended on themselves, no night will pass without my seeing my pious mother, who during her life was never separated from me, and who followed me by land and water to far distant countries. But I am convinced that the Almighty can permit, and sometimes does permit, them to appear for some good reason that we should respect. Per divinam potentiam vivorum rebus intasunt. And why should not God permit imploring souls who are dear to us and who still suffer to speak to us themselves, to tell us of their pains and entreat our compassion? The Holy Scriptures, the lives of the saints, and history all give evidence of well-authenticated apparitions in all times, in every country, and before all classes of witnesses. Without doubt, it is necessary, O Christian soul, to be on your guard against the too great credulity of certain persons who are forever fancying that they see apparitions of the dead, taking as a reality the vain phantoms of an imagination, excited by grief or painful recollections. At the same time, be careful not to deny the possibility of apparitions, as reason tells us that God can permit them, and experience proves that on different occasions He has permitted them. These occasions are rare, but they are possible. Second point: Scripture tells us that Samuel appeared after his death to Saul, addressing severe and well-merited reproaches to him. It would seem that a powerful reason for God's granting this permission to the dead will be on account of the ingratitude of the living, who forget them and are solely occupied in enriching themselves with their spoils, and leave them to suffer indefinitely in purgatory, without giving a thought for their relief or deliverance. When, then, these poor souls appear to living persons, it is generally under a form or in an attitude which excites pity. Often their faces are sad, and burning flames surround them. They sigh deeply, plaintive. Cries are heard, or they utter reproaches. Sometimes they make known their presence by sounds, by extraordinary signs. It is always by something which surprises and awakens in us a remembrance of them, exciting us to pray with more fervor for their deliverance. Blessed be God for making use of all possible means to remind us of the great duty of charity and gratitude towards our deceased brethren. And blessed also may the holy souls of purgatory be who break through their prison walls and return to earth to say to us who forget them so often, have pity on us. Miserere mini mei. Example: a young man belonging to an honorable family had, although faithful to his religious practices, thought little of helping the souls in purgatory. He seldom or never prayed for his deceased relatives. Not only did he neglect his duty, but he persuaded others to do the same, saying, "Why should we care about the dead? For they are certain to be saved, and they cannot lose or offend God anymore." He did not believe in apparitions of the souls in purgatory, and only turned into ridicule those who he heard spoken of. God permitted for his correction that some of these souls should leave their prison and appear under the most frightful forms to him who was doing them so great an injury. In all sorts of places and at every hour, they did assault him, uttering distressing cries, appearing under strange forms and leaving him no rest day or night. The lesson succeeded. A great change was wrought in the young man, who left the world to enter into the order of St. Dominic, and becoming a priest, he devoted himself in a special manner to the relief of the souls in purgatory. He offered so many prayers and masses for them, and preached so often and so eloquently in their behalf, pleading so earnestly for them that he obtained the name of the Advocate of the Dead, and this he truly was, for no other could give such convincing reasons for proving that the greatest act of charity in this world was to pray for the dead. The good Dominican died in the order of sanctity, and his soul, without doubt, joined in heaven those whom his suffrages had liberated from purgatory. Let us endeavor to imitate so great an example of charity. Prayer. I believe, O my God, that thou hast not only the power, but that thou art so merciful as to make use of extraordinary ways to remind us of the suffering members of the church and of the assistance they require, making known to us by these means how much thou dost desire that we should help them. O Jesus, be merciful to them. Call thy children and our brethren to eternal repose, and may perpetual light shine upon them. May they rest in peace. Requiescat in pace. And this is the end of day 28. Thank you guys for listening, and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you, and God bless.